All right, guys, we should be starting up live right now. Let me tweet out the stream. Okay, so this is for sure setting up to be the craziest slate of the year so far, just because we have so much value. There is, probably 6 or 7 running backs below 5K that are very much in play this slate. We have a ton of, 3K wide receivers, guys below 4K wide receiver. So it's really setting up to be one of the most crazy slates of the year, to be honest. So if you guys are new to the channel, new to the live stream, how it works is we'll take a look at the Vegas odds here. Obviously, we have some news with the Denver quarterbacks. They have 0 quarterbacks. They're starting a practice squad wide receiver at quarterback. We'll take a look at those Vegas odds. Obviously, we'll give you guys a player-by-player breakdown of what I'm thinking for cash games, GPPs, and then questions at the end. We have 1 hour, so a ton of time. Let's take a look at these odds first. So we have Cardinals, Patriots. It's currently a 51 over-under. Cardinals are 1.5-point favorites. Panthers and Vikings is a 50 over-under. Vikings are 3-point favorites. We have a couple really chalky plays in this game, obviously on the Minnesota side with Cook and Jefferson. We'll talk about those guys a bit more. Cleveland and Jacksonville right now is a 48 over-under. The Browns are 7.5-point favorites. We know the Jags playing with a backup quarterback. They've struggled offensively recently. Raiders and Falcons at 53 over-under. The Raiders are currently 3.5-point favorites. We have the Chargers and the Bills at 51.5 over-under. The Bills are 4-point favorites. Dolphins and Jets currently at 45 over-under. The Dolphins are 7.5-point favorites. We know both offenses have kind of been struggling recently, both with the Jets and the Dolphins. Giants and Bengals at 45 over-under. Bengals will be playing with the back quarterback as well. Giants are 6.5-point favorites. We have the Titans and the Colts at 51.5 over-under. The Colts are 3-point favorites. We do have Jonathan Taylor out in that one, obviously opening up some value with some of the Colts running backs. Saints and Broncos at 37 over-under. 37. The total has dropped. I forget what it opened at, but it has dropped like crazy here. Saints 16.5-point favorites. Again, Broncos starting at quarterback will be their practice squad wide receiver who is not on the slate. So Saints defense is going to be, I think, pretty popular. They're a safe defense to go with on the slate. There's a couple other defenses I think are viable. We can always punt with the Jets defense. A couple defenses in the mid-range we'll talk about a bit more. 49ers and Rams is a 44.5 over-under. The Rams are 5.5-point favorites. Chiefs and Bucks, this one currently right now is the highest over-under of the day, a 56 over-under. The Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites. I think this game obviously looks really good for game stacking, but it's going to be very popular as well. That's it for the main slate. So, all right, let's see. Open at 46 or 47. Yeah, that's insane. What's up? What's up, man? Green screen. Yep, got the green screen a few days ago. So, upgrading it a bit. You eating the chalk with Cook and fading him for these low price running backs? It depends what you're playing. Again, we'll get to more questions, but if you're playing cash games, you probably play Cook and then a couple of the cheap running backs. If you're playing GPPs, you can definitely fade Dalvin Cook. But let's start with quarterback. And quarterback, my stance has not changed here. With there being just enormous amounts of value, I don't think it's worth it to spend down a quarterback. I just don't think you have to do it in both formats. Cash and GPP, I think you spend up in quarterback with probably any of those top 5 to 6 quarterbacks. That's the way I would go. Kyler Murray's at 8-2. That's where I'm going on the slate. I think he goes maybe a little bit overlooked because we have Mahomes right below him in the highest over-under at currently 56. So, yeah, love Kyler. He had his worst game of the season last game. Again, was dealing with a bit of shoulder injury. Only ran the ball for 15 yards. I think that's more of an anomaly. So, I do like Kyler. The one downside here, again, is New England does run a bit slower. But if Arizona gets off to an early lead here, you could definitely see this game turn into shootout. And still, it's a pretty high total game, right? At 51. I don't know why Bovada keeps updating here, but yeah, 51 over/under there. So I do like Kyler. I think he goes a little bit overlooked on the slate, I should say. Patrick Mahomes at 8K, obviously one of the top plays as well. It's hard not to like Mahomes, really. 56 over/under. We know the Chiefs are throwing the ball a ton. They're just kind of abandoning the running game. Sure, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a good game last week, but only had 14 carries. Yeah, 42, 45, and 45 pass attempts the last 3 games. It's just he's such a safe option. You have 2 clear guys you can pair him with either Kelsey or Tyreek Hill. So, yeah, love Mahomes. and Josh Allen as well. These are the three quarterbacks I think are the top three of the slate. They're the most expensive, but price doesn't really matter, right? Because there's so much value. So I think you get to one of these top three quarterbacks in both formats, to be honest. I don't think you spend down a quarterback. Josh Allen, yeah, he's at 7.6. Another, the Bills have been abandoning the run as well, not really going to Singletary or Moss. 49 pass attempts at last game. He can do a little bit on the ground himself. So, and again, this is another game that has potential to shoot out. Love all three guys at the top. I think Herbert is still in play here at 7.2. It just, he doesn't possess the rushing ability as those other three guys above him, so makes him a little riskier. Again, I would feel a little bit more comfortable with the guys above him, with either Kyler, Mahomes, or Josh Allen. Not saying Herbert's out of play. I just think he's a little bit riskier play due to the fact that he doesn't have a ton of rushing upside. Again, Baltimore, Pittsburgh not on the main slate. Tom Brady's at 6.6, definitely in play. Now, I would prefer getting up to Mahomes in the same game, right, for an extra, 1,500 or so. But Brady's not out of play, right, and we've seen in games where Brady has struggled, like the next game he comes back and puts up a big performance. We saw it a couple of weeks ago. Against the Saints, he struggled, put up 5 fantasy points, came back out and put 34 fantasy points on the board. Tampa Bay is another team that they're a throw-first team. They're not going to run the ball a ton. 48 pass attempts at last game. I like Brady, and you have 3 clear guys you can pair him with. Again, I feel a little bit more comfortable with Mahomes in the same game, but I don't hate the idea of going to Brady. I think he's definitely in play. And then below that, for me, I'm not really targeting any of these guys, but we'll talk about a couple. Like Cam Newton's at 6.4 in a matchup here against Arizona. It's all about how this game flows. If New England does get off to an early lead, that's where there's some risk in this game because, they're going to run it a ton if it's neutral or even they're playing from ahead. If they play from behind, kind of like they did against Houston, then you can see Cam Newton air it out a bit more. He threw the ball 40 times for 365 yards. So does possess some upside, does have some rushing ability, but it kind of depends on how the game flows. Bridgewater, again, more of a contrarian play. The matchup's decent, but I'm not really looking there. Taysom Hill at 6.2. He was the absolute chalk last game. He's going to go very low-owned this week. Do you need to go there? Probably not, and this is going to be a really ugly game. He has rushing ability, which does make him more in play, but 6.2, I'm probably not going to look to him on this one. Other quarterback plays, a couple other guys I'll mention. Matt Ryan's at 5.9. No Julio Jones. Matchup's good. His floor is super, super low, so wouldn't even consider in cash games. I think you can look to him in GPPs because we know Atlanta's probably going to have to throw the ball a bit more here. No Todd Gurley. So yeah, you can look to Matt Ryan. You have clear guy to pair him with and Calvin Ridley, but nothing more than a GPP play. Same thing with Derek Carr, right at 5.7. The matchup's good, but Raiders kind of a run-first team. I don't know if really possesses the upside to break the slate. Only one guy to pair him with in Darren Waller. And then below that, that's probably it for me. I don't think I'm going to consider any of these other guys. If Fitzpatrick is starting at 5.5, it's a cheap enough price. The matchup's good, but I just don't think we have to do it. Daniel Jones is in a decent spot, but I don't think we have to go here. I don't. So, for me, it's spending up a quarterback, and I would probably go either Kyler or Mahomes. Those are the 2 guys I feel the most comfortable with, and with there just being an absurd amount of value, I would get to one of those guys in either format. Those are the top quarterback plays, and those are the 2 guys, if you're playing cash games, again, I would go Kyler or I would go Mahomes. So let's move on to running back. Running back Dalvin Cook in cash games. In cash games, you play Dalvin Cook. Even at this price, like I said, it's just salary doesn't really matter on the slate because there's so many good min-price running back plays. There's a lot of cheap wide receiver plays that look pretty solid. So you just jam in the guys that have a super high floor. Dalvin Cook has a super high floor, right? You can expect about 30 touches from him. Gets involved through the air as well. He's going to be, again, you play him in cash. He's going to be pretty popular still in GPPs. I think you can definitely make the argument to fade him because there's a lot of really cheap, good running back plays on the slate, and there's some good spend-up wide receivers too. So that's kind of one way to differentiate yourself is, sure, you're not going to feel great about fading Dalvin Cook. It's a scary fade. This is only in GPPs, right? But there's enough different ways you can go. There's enough cheap running backs where I think you can do it. But for cash games, you play Dalvin Cook. Don't get cute about it. Again, no McCaffrey. Kamara's a contrarian play at 8.2. Snaps went down for him dealing with a bit of foot injury. Taysom Hill playing quarterback just makes him a lot riskier because not a ton of involvement in the pass game. So I'm not really looking to Kamara. I'm not really looking to Derrick Henry either in a tough spot. Just no involvement in the passing game, touchdown dependent. Yeah, I don't want to go there. There's much better running back plays on the board in my opinion. I'm not really looking to Josh Jacobs either at 7.2. Just too pricey. Sure, the matchup's good, but no involvement in the passing game. They're giving Devontae Booker some touches as well, so I'm not really looking to Jacobs. I'll pass on the Cleveland running backs with Chubb and Kareem Hunt. If you want to take a shot on one of those guys in GPPs, that's fine. I understand why you do it. Cleveland's a run-first team. The matchup's really good. But there's so many good cheap running back plays, and you have Cook at the top. You have Eckler in the mid-range. There's this below Cook, this next range of running backs, I'm not looking to anyone, to be honest. No, I'm not going to Mike Davis at 6'9". That's a little bit too pricey. No, thank you, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm not going to James Robinson against Cleveland. Eckler is the guy that I would look to here at 6'1". Coming back from injury, they said they're going to kind of limit him, but we've seen this with coach talk before, right? We've seen it a ton of times throughout the season. It's hard to trust what coaches say. So, you could realistically see Eckler play his normal role of 70% of the snaps. If that's the case, then he could absolutely smash this price point, 7.1K, in a good matchup, in a game they're probably playing from behind. We do have Balaj status up in the air as well, so I don't think I go Eckler in cash games because of the risk of we don't know exactly what his workload is going to be, but really do like his upside if things go right. If things go right and he gets his normal workload, I think he could crush this salary. So Eckler's definitely someone I'm looking to in GPPs. There's, again, this risk. I'm just no chance of going to the Tampa Bay running backs here. I'm not playing Madison at 6K. Easy fade. Jonathan Taylor's COVID. We'll talk about Hines and Wilkins, viable cheap options. I'm not going to Damian Harris or Latavius Murray. Gross plays. Hunt at 5'6", you could at least give a look to because the matchup. But again, he's still competing with touches with Nick Chubb, so I'll pass there. With Drake and Edmonds, they're going to split it. Drake, the early down work guy. Edmonds, the third down guy. I'll pass as well. Now we get to kind of the range of there's about 4 or 5 guys here that look pretty good for running back. So I've heard Gallman's name mentioned a couple times. I get the play. I'm not as excited about him, right? This is a game the Giants are probably playing from ahead. It's a good matchup. But he's still competing with touches with Deion Lewis and with Alfred Morris. So he's not going to be a true workhorse back. Gets a little bit of involvement in the passing game, but not a ton, right? 1, 2, and 2 targets the last 3 games. So Gallman, I'm not as excited about. I think you can at least consider him. Again, I'm not going to Fournette, not going to Moss, no thinking McKinnon. Hines, he's at 4.6. Yeah, definitely in play here. Now, it's a 3. It was a 3-headed monster. Now it's only 2, right, with him and Wilkins. So who's going to be the lead back here? We don't know. We know the Colts kind of go with the hot hand. We've seen, all 3 running backs have good games this year. We've seen Wilkins a few games. We've seen Hines, 2 games ago had a big game. We saw it was Jonathan Taylor last game. So it's really hard to trust to nail down which running back it's going to be. Now, Hines is the better pass-catching running back, and it's a good matchup. So I think you can definitely look to both Colts running backs on this slate for value. James White is in play, not a cash game play, but with no Rex Burkhead, he played about 60% of the snaps that last game. And this is a game they're probably playing from behind. They have with Burkhead out, he is going to be the clear guy in passing down situations. If they fall behind, you could see James White put up a pretty nice day here. So not someone you can look to in cash games because they still have other running backs, but he will be the clear, he's not competing with Burkhead anymore. So he's the clear pass-catching running back now for New England. Other options at running back, let's see. Yeah, so Jordan Wilkins to the flat min. It's going to be him. It's going to be Hines. Hines is going to be more popular, but we've seen games, right, where Wilkins, 20 touches, he had 20 fancy points. You can look to both these guys. I think Hines probably possesses a little bit more upside, but they could just go with Wilkins here. We don't know that for certain. And then, let's see, was there anyone else? There's a couple other guys I want to mention here. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. Talked about all these guys. Let's see. Jags, yeah, no. Miami, okay. So with no Gaskin, no Ahmed, Breida is expected to be their primary running back, but they still do have other guys here on this roster. The matchup is pretty good. I think you can give a look to Breida, but again, they do have other guys they can use. I'm not fully convinced he's going to be the workhorse back, so yeah, he's in consideration for sure, but definitely some risk involved with playing Breida. With the Jets, running backs, Perrine's on the IR, but I don't really want to play any of the Jets backs. And then, yeah, Brian Hill, with no Todd Gurley, I think he looks like one of the better value plays of the day. He was the backup. I expect him to be the starter now. He's shown he's a good pass-catching running back. Sure, right, there's still other guys they have, right? They have Ito Smith, they have Olsen, but I expect Brian Hill to be, a guy that probably gets, 60% of the touches here in a good spot. So, yeah, Hill is definitely someone I'm looking to for value. And then I think that about wraps it up, really. Gio, I think it is good to go, right? Is active, yeah, but 5'7", yeah, feels like a little bit too much for him. I think that's about it. Yeah, Balaj, his status, he's inactive. So that came out a little bit ago. So yeah, I think that you could go to Eckler a little bit with more confidence. Again, they still have Kelly, they still have Pope, but I do really like Austin Eckler here as a GPP play at 6.1K. And then Bills running backs, I'm not really looking to Moss or Singletary. Carolina, yeah, no thank you. Davis is too expensive. I think that's it. I'm not really. I know Denver probably relies on the ground game a bit more, but I'm not really looking there. The Rams, we know they're a three-headed monster, and then yeah, that's it. So let's talk about wide receiver now, guys. And real quick before I get into wide receiver, if you guys enjoy the content, I would really appreciate it to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Closing in on 6K subs, so would really appreciate that, guys. Breida could break off a run, but he's a little bit too risky. Yeah, again, they have other guys they can use, so that's why it does make him a little bit more risky. But yeah, let's move on to wide receivers. So Hopkins at the top at 8-1. I don't think he's going to be super popular. Love, obviously, the pairing him with Kyler Murray. He had an off game last game, but we know he possesses the ability to break the slate. And we do have no Larry Fitzgerald. Doesn't really affect Hopkins too much. I think it makes Andy Isabella a pretty solid value play. But yeah, I think Hopkins is definitely in play here. Keenan Allen as well at 8K. A game they're probably playing from behind. He's going to get targeted a ton. This has makings for a shootout. Chargers have been throwing the ball a good amount. So I still think Keenan Allen's in play even at 8K. Tyreek Hill the last couple of games, 14 and 18 targets. Again, this is the highest over-under the slate. He has Pat Mahomes as quarterback. Definitely in play for GPPs. So this is why I'm saying you don't have to play Cook in GPPs. There's a lot of guys at the top here, wide receiver, that have a ton of upside, where I think you can fade Cook and go two cheap running backs, or go like Eckler and one of those cheap running backs if you want to go that direction. Stephon Diggs, no John Brown. I think it just kind of solidifies his role. Right? He's already a guy that's averaging about double-digit targets. Again, this is one of the higher over-unders of the slate, and we know Buffalo's been throwing the ball a ton. So with all these wide receivers at the top, I like them all. Michael Thomas is the guy I'm probably not as high on. This is just an ugly game. Denver, don't expect them to score a ton with their practice squad wide receiver playing quarterback. So not really looking to Michael Thomas. Now, Calvin Ridley's at 7-1. I really like Calvin Ridley. Sure, some people can make the argument that, with Julio Jones out, maybe it hurts him. I don't think so. I just think the upside does, go up on him a bit more. And in a really good matchup here against the Raiders. So, yeah, I do like Ridley a lot. He hasn't really had a big game the last 4 games. We know he possesses the upside to break the slate, right? He has 30-plus fantasy point upside, and he's not really competing with Julio Jones. There's a couple of value plays we'll mention, but I do really like Ridley. One of my favorite plays here at 7.1K. Below this, again, Julio's out. I'm not really looking to A.J. Brown against the Colts. Cooper Kupp's 6'4". I think he goes overlooked, but it's just a price point thing. I really like the price for Cooper Kupp. That's just too cheap. So 2 of the last 3 games, 20 and 13 targets. It just makes him a really safe play if you can get to him. So, sure, matchup like this game, yeah, probably not going to shoot out, but that is too cheap for Cooper Kupp in my opinion. Justin Jefferson is going to be pretty popular at 6'3". I get the play, and I definitely think he's a pretty solid play here with no Thielen, right? He's going to be their clear guy. So, Minnesota, they'll probably rely on the ground game a little bit more. If they're going to throw the ball, it's going to be a lot of Justin Jefferson. We have no Irv Smith as well, so again, he's going to be the clear guy. He definitely has upside here in a decent matchup, so I'm perfectly fine with Justin Jefferson. I think he does go a little bit over-owned, but I like him in the mid-range. If you get to him, that's perfectly fine. And then the Tampa Bay wide receivers, like all 3 here with Evans, Godwin, and Antonio Brown in the highest over-under of the slate, and we know Tampa Bay is going to have to throw the ball a ton. So I love all these guys. If you want to get one, if you want to get 2, I think that's a good way to go about it. Again, this game stack is going to be popular, but I like it a lot. Right? You can go Mahomes. You can pair him with either Hill and Kelsey and run it back with like 1 or 2 of these Tampa Bay guys, and then just go value from there. Right? Like there is enough value. You can do that. So if you go, let's just say Patrick Mahomes, and you pair him with Tyreek Hill, and you want to run it back with, let's just say we'll do a 3-stack with him, Kelsey, and then one of these Tampa Bay wide receivers. Pick whoever, right? 4.2 curve inning. That's still a good amount, right? There's a ton of really cheap plays. So you can definitely do something like that. That lineup has a ton of upside here. But yeah, back to wide receivers. So below this, this next tier, like below these Tampa Bay receivers, the next tier is something I'm not super excited about. Below Antonio Brown. Beasley at 5.5. Does his role change with John Brown out? I don't think a ton. I just think it really helps Gabriel Davis, who's at min price. He played 95 and 100% of the snaps with John Brown out in a couple games earlier this season. So Gabriel Davis is definitely someone I'm looking to for value. I think Beasley is an okay play in the mid-range. Again, did have a big game last week, but I don't know if his role changes a ton. Jacoby Myers is a guy I kind of like at 5.3. He's going to go super, super overlooked on the slate after having a 3-catch, 3-target game last game. But previous games, 10, 14, and 7 targets. We still have no Edelman. If New England falls behind, you could see a pretty big game here at Jacoby Myers. And I don't think a ton of people get to him. Not a cash game play, definitely, but somebody you can look to as a contrarian play in GPPs. Other options, we'll talk about the cheap Jacksonville wide receivers. There's a ton of cheap wide receivers in play below 4K. Yeah, this next range is kind of gross. Like Pittman at 5K. If you want to take a shot on one of these Colts receivers, I think it's it's fine, but it's just hard to kind of nail down where the production is going to go. I'm not really interested in the Cincinnati receivers playing with the backup quarterback. Russell Gage had a nice game last game when Julio Jones went down, 7 catches and 12 targets, but I don't know if his role changes a lot. He's going to play out of the slot, so yeah, you can give him a look, but I think people might box score watch, see those 12 targets, and kind of go there. Again, I don't think his role changes a ton here, so not saying he's out of play, but not someone I'm super, super excited about. Other options at wide receiver, yeah, again, this is kind of just a gross range. I'm not really looking to anyone here. But yeah, now we kind of get to the cheap wide receivers. Like T.Y. is going to go super, super low owned, below 4K in a good matchup. Hasn't had a big game yet, but hard to get super excited about that. Zacchaeus at 3.8. He had in that game where I forget who was out in Week 9. It was either Ridley or Julio, but Zacchaeus had a good game, 4 catches and 6 targets. But they still have Blake. They still have Powell they can utilize. So yeah, he has probably possessed the most upside, but not someone I'm like super, super confident about. I think you can give him a look. As far as Robinson and Hardman, I'm not really going there with Sammy Watkins back. I think you can probably cross those guys off. All right, let's start talking about the Jags wide receivers. So these guys are going to go a little bit lower owned, I think, as far as Jacksonville goes. We got no Chark, no Chris Conley. So it's going to be Keelan Cole, it's going to be Shenault, it's going to be Colin Johnson, the 3 wide receivers. I think you can give all 3 a look. Cole's been the most, consistent wide receiver this year for the Jags. He's at 3.6K. I know playing with the backup quarterback, but they're probably going to be playing from behind. Laviska Shenault's been out the last few weeks, but he's still a guy that's been pretty solid in the games he's played. And then the rookie Colin Johnson hasn't got a ton of work, but he should kind of work in as the number 3 wide receiver. Again, I think you can give all these guys a look for value. There's a ton of these cheap wide receivers in play. Below that, let's see. Denzel Mims is at 3.5K. I think he's a pretty nice option. Last couple games, 8 and 7 targets. He's running a ton of air routes, basically playing the entire game. So I think he's someone we can look to for value for sure at 3.5. Other options, Hamler playing with no quarterback. Basically, I'm not going there now. Let's see. And then we kind of get to the punt, the min price guy. So Andy Isabella is at 3K. I think we can definitely look to him for value. No Larry Fitzgerald, so he should play a good amount out of the slot. And we know the Cardinals like running through wide receiver sets a lot, right, with Hopkins, Kirk, and Fitzgerald. But now with Fitzgerald out, it should be a good amount of Isabella. So I think he is one of the top value plays of the slate here at 3K. We'll also talk about Gabriel Davis, who I really like. Let's go to Buffalo. He's at min price. So no John Brown. He played 95 and 100% of the snaps when John Brown was out. So he should be out there majority of the game. I like him for value here in a game that has potential to shoot out. So yeah, those are 2 of the better value plays, in my opinion, there at wide receiver. I want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. So let's go team by team here really quick. Let's see. Is Pascal is active? Okay, yeah. So yeah, Colts, they'll have Pittman, they'll have Pascal, they'll have T.Y. It's a good matchup, but I'm not overly excited about any of those guys. Cleveland, we know, is a run-first team. We talked about the Jags, cheap wide receivers. Jakeem Grant is at 3.7, is active. He's going to be the number 2 guy. I think he's a decent option. I think actually with Fitzpatrick playing quarterback, does make Grant a little bit more viable. Like I actually do feel a little bit more comfortable with Fitzpatrick quarterback than I do Tua right now. So, and Jakeem Grant does have that big playability. He's a speedster. I think you can give him a look for sure for value as well. And we talked about Mims. Like, yeah, you can give a look to Perriman, but I like the price better on Mims. I'm not really looking to Crowder at that price point. With the Raiders wide receivers, I just don't trust any of them. It's Waller for me, and that's it. On the Atlanta side, right, we talked about Ridley and Gage. Zacchaeus is probably the cheap wide receiver look too. I mean, Blake and Powell get mixed in a bit, but yeah, that's really it for Atlanta. As far as the Giants go, I'm not really overly excited about their wide receivers. Like Shepard and Slayton, like seem priced about right. Cincinnati, again, I'm not really going there with the back quarterback playing. As far as the Chargers go, it's kind of Keenan Allen and Eckler for me, and that's it. Like Mike Williams at 5K does possess some upside, but yeah, it just seems priced about right. We talked about Gabe Davis. I like him a lot for value. Stephon Diggs at the top. With Carolina, Moore, Anderson, and Samuel all are in play here. I think these guys do go lower owned. Samuel is the guy that's been getting involved a ton here recently. Still no Christian McCaffrey. They want to give this guy the ball. He'll get some carries as well. So yeah, Curtis Samuel is someone we can look to in this range. But you know, this like below like the mid 5K to like 4K range of wide receiver is not great. So he's someone I think more of a contrarian play. Basically all the Carolina receivers. Again, we talked about Minnesota with Justin Jefferson is going to be pretty popular. Obviously Dalvin Cook as well. You know, with Olabisi Johnson versus Chad Beebe, we don't have a clear. Johnson will start at number 2 with Chad Beebe playing outside. That's kind of what I expected because you know Beebe obviously is a slot guy. So yeah, Olabisi Johnson at min price is going to go pretty low owned, but he's another cheap wide receiver we can give a look to. Like he should play majority of the game as you know the number 2 guy. So yeah, I like Olabisi Johnson here for value. Again, a ton of cheap wide receiver plays. I'm not really looking at the Saints wide receivers or Denver, honestly, with you know that game being super ugly. 49ers, I'll probably pass in their wide receivers. We talked about Kupp. Woods and Reynolds are probably stay away from me. And then, yeah, we talked about this game, obviously, Kansas City and Tampa Bay. You know, Tyreek Hill at the top. You know, I'm probably not going to go to the value there for Kansas City. There's enough good value in the slate where I don't think we have to. And with Tampa Bay, the top 3 guys all look really good, in my opinion. So that's it for wide receiver. Let's move on to tight end. Tight end, you know, at the top for me, it's Kelsey and Waller. If you can get to these guys, I like them a ton. You know, last 3 games here for Kelsey, 12, 12, and 10 targets, 27, 28, and 29 fantasy points. Like I said, Kansas City is throwing the ball a ton. The highest run of the slate. Tight end is, you know, has been a pretty weak position this year. So, you know, just paying up for Kelsey, I think is definitely a safe way to go. Again, there's enough really cheap wide receiver. You can spend up for quarterback. You can spend up for tight end and still feel pretty comfortable with your lineup. So, really like Kelsey. I do still like Waller a good amount too at 6K. I think he goes a bit overlooked. I think if people are spending up at tight end, they're just going to go all the way up to Kelsey. Or they're going to spend down a bit with a couple cheap options we'll talk about. Waller is just in this price range. I think he goes overlooked. But I like him a good amount here. He's the only guy I feel comfortable with as far as a Raiders pass catcher. He's a guy that, you know, does possess upside. And I think the price point does make him, again, go a little bit overlooked. As far as cheaper tight ends on the slate, Hunter Henry's in play at 4.8. We know he's running a ton of routes. The matchup's good. Evan Ingram against Cincinnati is fine, right? He had an off game last game, but the previous 3 games, 9, 10, and 10 targets. They want to get this guy the ball. Gronkowski at 4.4, definitely in play. I do prefer the wide receivers here with Godwin, Evans, and Antonio Brown. But like Gronk is still playing a majority of the game, and like I said, this is a game that has all the makings for a shootout. So yeah, Gronk is in play for a cheap tight end. I'm not really looking to Gesicki. Fonts to stay away from me. Hayden Hurst at 3.9 is active. I do kind of like him as a cheap tight end, right? He was put up a donut last game. There's no Julio Jones. Another guy is still running a ton of routes, and he's just going to go overlooked after putting up a donut. So I kind of like Hayden Hurst a good amount here for value. Other cheap tight ends like Jordan Reed's at 3.6. He's listed as questionable. I expect him to go. Like, he played 50% of the snaps last game after playing like 10% of the game against Green Bay. So Jordan Reed's viable there for a punt play. And then, you know, cheap below this, like I think the only other guy you can look to is probably Kyle Rudolph with no Irv Smith. He should, you know, play a majority of the game at tight end. He should run some more routes with Irv Smith, their primary pass-catching tight end, being out, also Thielen being out. So, yeah, I'm fine with Kyle Rudolph here. I think he does is someone you can punt it with, tight end if you want to. And that's really it for me. So that's kind of my breakdown here. Again, I told you guys what I want to do with quarterbacks. I want to spend up a quarterback. Let's kind of talk about cash games, right? So for cash games at running back, I think you probably play Cook, and then one of those cheap running backs. Like Eckler is someone I really like for GPPs, but I probably don't go there in cash games. For cash, there's a good amount of guys we mentioned, right? You can look to Gallman. I think Hines looks pretty good, or even Wilkins if you want to go there. I think Brian Hill looks like a pretty decent option. So, yeah, there's a bunch of cheap running backs. I think you probably go Cook and then maybe one or two of those cheap guys for cash games. And like I said, I think you spend up at quarterback for cash. So probably either Kyler or Mahomes for me. And then, again, there's a ton of cheap value. You're going to have to kind of make some tough calls there. But that's how I would go about in cash games, right? So it would be Cook, probably a couple of cheap running backs, pair them with one of the top quarterbacks, and then go from there. So let's get into some questions, guys. And one more time, we'll ask if you enjoy the content to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Any tight end under 3K? Yeah, for me, it'll probably be Rudolph. Jakeem Grant or Brian Hill GPP? It's Brian Hill. Yeah, Rudolph for me. I love the rest of my lineup. How stupid is it to play Glennon and cash? I wouldn't do it. I just don't think we have to do it, right? There's enough really, really good cheap running backs and cheap wide receivers that I wouldn't play Glennon. Eifert. What's Eifert's price? He's probably pretty cheap. Yeah, they're missing a couple wide receivers at 2.6. You can play them, but for me, like I would still probably spend up a tight end. I would honestly probably do this in like a cash game setting. Like, I would probably go Mahomes, Kelsey, Cook, and then one of those cheap running backs. Like I think that's a pretty safe way to start your lineup. Hill for cash, yeah, I do like Hill a good amount. I'm doing the same, but with Godwin. I like all three of the Tampa Bay receivers a lot here. I'd rather play Godwin to AB. I think AB might be a little bit more popular due to the targets last couple of games, but all three look really good. Chubb plus Ridley or Dalvin plus Naheem or T. Higgins. So I think I would rather go Dalvin plus Naheem Hines. Is Crowder in play with Sam Darnold back? Yeah. I mean, you can make that argument, right? Crowder probably does get a little bit of boost with Darnold playing QB. Darnold likes going to the slot wide receiver, but yeah, I'm not overly excited about that. GPP running backs. Mention Austin Eckler. Love Austin Eckler if things go right? There's risk involved. It's his first game back. They could limit him a bit, but if Austin Eckler gets his normal role and he plays like 70% of the snaps, again, we have no Balaj, so I really do like Austin Eckler here for a GPP play. Do you like Fitzmagic, Cook, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Cook, Wilkins, Allen, Diggs, Laviska, Waller, Brian Hill, Jets, and GPP? It's a bit contrarian, right, because you're playing Fitzpatrick quarterback. I still, in both formats, I just like spending up at quarterback. But yeah, Fitzpatrick does possess some upside. I'm playing Eckler today. I like the upside a lot here in Eckler. James Robinson or Eckler? It's Eckler for me, just because of his pass catching ability. Tyreek Hill and Andy Isabella, or Nick Chubb and James White. It's Tyreek Hill and Andy Isabella for me. Herbert, it's definitely a stars and scrubs build, right? There's enough value that I think you jam in the guys at the top and then go cheap. So Herbert, Hines, Moss, Keenan Cole, Ridley, Kelsey, AB, Jax D. Yeah, with Moss, I'm not super excited about it. I prefer some other cheap running backs. Kyler Stack and run it back with White in the 101 milli. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, I like that. How about Devontae Parker? He's a bit too expensive for me. He's just, that he's at a tricky price range, right? Because this is definitely setting up for the stars and scrubs build. He's at 5'9". With Fitzpatrick playing quarterback, I think I like him a little bit more, but yeah, I'm probably not prioritizing Devontae Parker. Shenault Davis or Cole for cash? That's a tricky one. I will go Gabe Davis because I feel more comfortable with the quarterback play with Josh Allen, right? So I'll go Gabe Davis there. I have quite a bit of Anderson. Is that Robbie Anderson? I think he's fine. Hunter Eckler, for me, I like Eckler more. I trust that Eckler can get there. That game will be a shootout, no Balaj either. Yeah, so again, I actually am going to probably I originally built my lineup. I had a couple different builds, one with Eckler, one without, but I think I'm going to go back to Eckler for GPPs. I like the upside a ton in him today, hoping, again, there's risk involved. Like, Eckler's not a cash game play at all because the workload is in question. Like, he could play 40% of the snaps. So there's definitely some risk. Strictly a GPP only play. But if things go right, like this is what I'm talking about. If things go right for Eckler and he gets his normal workload, no Balaj, yeah. DK houses for GP, Mahomes, Dalvin Cook, Wilkins, Ridley, Gabriel Davis, Denzel Mims, Kelsey, Antonio Brown. I like that. Hill or Hines for GP on FanDuel, that's a tough one. Two of the top value running backs, in my opinion. That's almost a coin. That's a coin flip. I don't have a strong preference there. Any Colts running back or Chase Edmonds, I would rather go probably Hines over Edmonds. Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp. Jefferson is going to be more popular, but I like both in the mid-range. I think I probably still, that's tough. Jefferson probably the cashy play, but I like Cooper Kupp. I think he goes overlooked in the slate. It's just a price point thing with Kupp. GPP, Mahomes, Hines, Robinson, Keelan Cole, Davis, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, Jefferson, the Giants defense. That's fine. James Robinson's not really someone I'm overly excited about, but everything else looks good. What do you think of the Tampa Bay wide receivers, AB, Godwin, Evans? I wish I had a stronger take. Like, it was kind of my same kind of take in the showdown. Like, hard to differentiate it. Now, AB has had the most targets last couple of games, so he'll probably play the least snaps. All three possess upside, so it's kind of go with your gut, in my opinion there. I'm rolling with Fitzpatrick, Cook, Hines, Jefferson, Hopkins, Zacchaeus, Waller, Davis, and Giants. See, there's some risk involved, right? But if you feel good about Fitzpatrick, that's fine. Mahomes right now, it's spend up a quarterback for me with Mahomes or Kyler or even Josh Allen. Diggs, Isabella, Broncos, or Tyreek, Gabriel Davis, Jags. I'm playing Kyler quarterback. Diggs, Isabella, Broncos, or Tyreek, Gabriel Davis. I feel better with Tyreek, Gabriel Davis, and the Jags. Mahomes, Cook, Hines, Gabe Davis, Gage, Justin Jefferson, Kelsey, Cole, Giants. I think it looks pretty good. Thoughts on Breida? In play for value, I probably do feel a little bit more comfortable with Brian Hill, with Hines. But, Breida is still in play. There's just, there's some risk involved because we don't know if he's going to be the true workhorse back there. Carr, Cook, Eckler, Anderson, Davis, Chenault, Waller, Hines, Saints. Again, with the cheap quarterbacks, I'm not overly excited about it. But DK, are you already build before your live stream? I usually do build my lines before the live stream, but I don't know. I've been going back and forth here with Eckler, with if I'm going to play Eckler or not. I might stick without. I don't know. I've been going back and forth with it. There's some risk involved with him for sure. Cole or Grant for cash. Keelan Cole or Jakeem Grant. I will go Jakeem Grant. I feel a little bit more comfortable with Fitzpatrick as the quarterback. So, I'll go Jakeem Grant there. Mahomes, Dalvin, James White, Tyreek, Chenault, Isabella, Kelsey, Gabe Davis, and Saints D. I like that. Great job. First time watching. Hit it up with the follow. Thanks, man. Hines or Gallman? Both are not going to be workhorse backs, but I will go Hines because he's the guy that probably will get a lot of the third down work as well. Something that does raise his floor. Hill or Hines, cheap running backs. Again, that one's basically a coin flip for me. It's a really tough call there with Hill versus Hines. Jacoby Myers and James White stack. I like it as a contrarian stack. I do. Diggs B-Day today, probably going to go off. I think he's a really solid play at the top. Saints defense, such a sucker play. Why is everyone on Isabella? I get that Fitz out, but damn. You don't have to play Isabella. You don't. I'm not playing Isabella. My cheap wide receiver is Gabe Davis, my 3K wide receiver, but I get it, right? If Isabella, he should get a good amount of snaps to the slot. Definitely not a must play. There's other cheap wide receivers that you can look to. What defense do you like? So the Saints defense is probably going to be the most popular at 3.8, going up against a practice squad wide receiver. But there's some other defenses we can look to, right? So I think the Giants look pretty good going up against the backup quarterback. I think the Browns look pretty good going up against the backup quarterback. And I like the Jets too. 2.1K, that's just a price point thing if you need a really, really cheap defense. So that's where I would look for defense, probably. Either at the top with Saints, but they'll probably be decently popular. You look at the Giants, Browns, and then if you really want to punt it, the Jets at 2.1K. Let's see, Tyreek or Kelsey. I think Kelsey has a little bit of a higher floor. Tyreek probably has a little bit more upside. Any Derek Carr for GPPs? Again, I want to spend up a quarterback today. What's the most you won? We're talking about just in general. In NBA, I won about 5K a few years ago as my most popular day. Wilkins pivot. Yep, Hines is going to be more popular, so I think Wilkins is a perfectly fine pivot. And we know the Colts will kind of go with the hot hand there. GPP, Kyler, Eckler, Brian Hill, Keenan, Tyreek, Hopkins, Rudolph, Gabriel Davis, and Jags D. I think that's good. Core plays, we kind of went over it. So for cash games, it's going to be Dalvin Cook. It's going to be one of the spend quarterbacks, either Kyler or Patrick Mahomes for me, or even you can give a look to Josh Allen, and then one of those, probably a couple of those cheap running backs. So again, you have like Hill, you have Hines, you can look to Gallman, you can look to Breida. There's a good amount of cheap running backs in play. Worried about Kyler's shoulder. Definitely does make him, definitely, I am a little bit worried about it. Hooper versus Rudolph for season long. Yeah, that's another tough one. I'll go Hooper. Laviska or Snell? Snell. Wait, who are we talking about here? You're talking about like for season long, Benny Snell? Because if they play, like Benny Snell is a guy that, with no James Conner, probably will be their bell cow back. Jordan Reed or Keelan Cole. I'd probably go Keelan Cole there. White or Hines? Well, for cash games, it's definitely Hines. But I do like White as a GPP play with no Burkhead. Herbert and Allen, yeah, I'm perfectly fine if you want to go that stack. Mahomes, Cook, Hines, AB, Hill, Shenault, Eifert, Sammy Watkins, Saints, D thoughts. I like it. Breida, definitely in play. Breida. Raheem Mostert, I don't trust San Francisco in the running backs. I don't trust it. I'm not gonna go there. Tough matchup too. So yeah. Would you go Hill at quarterback? Oh, Taysom Hill. He's going to be low owned. You can, but again, I like to spend up a quarterback. Wilkins gets more carries than Hines. Hines is only a good passing game. Yeah, I do think probably Wilkins does get a couple more touches in the ground, but Hines should be their passing down running back. How does this look? DK Fitzpatrick, Cook, Chubb, Parker, Crowder, Pittman, Gesicki, Hill, Browns. It's a very, very contrarian stack, right? You're kind of going, Miami and the Jets. So on Fitzpatrick, Parker, running back with Crowder, and Gesicki. I mean, that's like I'm not a huge fan of it. I prefer other games to stack. Hines or Eckler. If you can get to Eckler, I like him a bit more. Core plays, again, we kind of talked about that. It's Cook. It's one of those cheap running back plays, and then it's a spend-up quarterback with either Kyler or Mahomes. Any Ronald Jones thoughts today? Maybe, nah, I don't trust it. They'll go with the hot hand. Fournette's their passing down running back. They're probably playing from behind this one. So, yeah, can you use Kirk and Murray stacks? You can. Kirk possesses upside. He'll go overlooked. He's at a tricky price range. But, yeah, you can definitely do that. You like any mid-range wide receivers or you like the 7K range up more? For me, it's the top guys. It's the top guys or it's the cheap guys. Now, with the mid-range wide receivers, a couple guys I'll mention, right? If you consider the Tampa Bay guys in the mid-range, I really like the Tampa Bay guys. But below that, you have, I kind of like Jacoby Myers as a contrarian play. He was a chalk bust last week. Still a guy that's been getting a ton of targets. I think, Curtis Samuel, they've been wanting to give him the ball a ton. But yeah, the mid-range of wide receiver is, I'm not overly excited about it. Any Damon Harris, nah, too expensive for me. Also, Sony Michel active. Tyson or Jones? Tyson. Are you talking about Taysom Hill? Chubb or Hunt? Chubb probably possesses more upside, but he's more expensive. I'll take the discount on Hunt. Both should be involved in a game they're probably playing from ahead. Will you play Austin Hooper in tight end and cash, DK? Yeah. Yeah, you can, but I personally like spending up at tight end. DK, thoughts on GPP? Mahomes, Gallman, Hines, Antonio Brown, Keelan Cole, Tyreek Hill, Waller, Eckler, Giants. I like that a good amount. Diggs or Keenan Allen for cash? I'll go Keenan Allen just because the target share with him is a little bit higher than Diggs. Harris or Chase Edmonds? I honestly not a fan of either. If I had to pick, I'll go Chase Edmonds, but I don't think we have to go there on the slate. In my regular league, who would you start at flex? Kendall, Hitton, Godwin, or Deontay or Mostert? Godwin. Keelan Cole and Godwin or Justin Jefferson and Gabe Davis. I'll go Jefferson and Gabe Davis. I think I slightly prefer Davis to Cole. Sony Michel love, yeah. I don't think we have to do it. Tom Brady for GPs, yes. Tom Brady definitely in play in the highest over under the slate. Yeah, for sure. Curtis Samuel or Hines at flex for cash. Yeah, that's a tough one. Because normally I do like going running backs in the flex at cash, but Samuel's a guy that will give some carries to. They just like getting the ball a ton to tonight. Or they like getting the ball to him a lot. I guess Hines, just because, in cash games, ownership doesn't really matter, and Hines should be one of the more popular plays of the slate. So I guess Hines. Michigan basketball tonight, yep. Super excited for that. Laviska or Cole? I think Cole's slightly safer just because Laviska first game coming back from the injury. You missed the boxing reference. Oh, did I? Sorry. I missed NBA. A couple more weeks until preseason. Nate Robinson a flex. Do you think Bird will be low owned? Can he repeat his performance? He will be low owned. I still probably prefer getting up to Jacoby Myers. Mike Davis, too expensive for me. I'm not really looking there. Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson. I would rather take the discount on Samuel. Will you play Jameson Crowder for cash and DK? I wouldn't. With Mims and Perriman there, he hasn't been getting targeted a ton. Sure, Sam Darnold coming back maybe does make him a little bit more viable because we know Sam Darnold loves going to the slot wide receivers. Mims or Jakeem Grant for cash, that's another tough one. I like both as cheap plays. I will go Mims, but it's close. It's really close. Nate Robinson, yeah, I saw he got knocked out. Patty Mahomes, Cook, Hines, Allen, Gabe Davis, Tyreek Hill, Brian Hill, Jets. How do you feel about that? I like that a lot. I do. Like that's a lineup where, with Cook, Hines, and Brian Hill, that's probably what I do in cash. You're playing Mahomes at quarterback. You're pairing him with Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I like that a good amount. My GPP lineup: Mahomes, Hunt, Eckler, Godwin, Ruggs, Anderson, Kelsey, Wilkins, and Buffalo D. I just don't trust any of the Raiders wide receivers. Carr quarterback, I'd rather spend up. Aguilar sleeper, I don't trust the Raiders wide receivers. For Fando Cash, do you think you can do Hines, Gallman, or do we need to pay up for one? For Fando Cash, I would play Cook still. Do you think Curtis Samuel is a good pick in GPP? Yes, I do. What are you thinking about Eckler? I really like Eckler for GPP. There's some risks we haven't seen him yet, but if everything goes right, Eckler could definitely crush. I've been going back and forth of whether or not I want to put him in there. I'm still a little bit undecided, to be honest. Let's see, I'm taking the stance of the Vikings bust offensively. No one hits value. You don't have to play them. They're going to be popular. But, yeah, we know Cook and Jefferson are going to be two pretty popular plays today. Josh Jacobs, 3 TDs today. No involvement in the passing game. I'm not as excited about that. GP, Hines and Gabriel, or Wilkins and Cole. I'd rather go Hines and Gabriel there. Thoughts on Mahomes, Cook, White. Mahomes, Cook, James White, Parker, Chenault, Gabe Davis, Kelsey, AB, Brown, C, GPP. I think that's good, right? You're taking some chances, right? White is a contrarian play. Same with Devontae Parker. Everything else looks pretty good. Raider hater, let's see. LOL. I'm not a Raider hater. I just don't trust the wide receivers. I'm actually playing Waller. So, yeah, I'm playing Waller. I'm running it back with Calvin Ridley kind of in a mini stack there. Starting Allen at quarterback. I like Josh Allen. It's him. It's Kyler, Mahomes for me. I'm spending up a quarterback. Jacksonville defense. Mayfield will throw an INT pick 6. Yeah, if you feel confident with that, go for it. Hines or Gallman for GPP. Again, that's a tough one. I'll go Hines, but it's close. I started watching you 2 years ago during NBA season. Love the info. Hey, appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you for the continued support. Super excited again for NBA. What game is good to stack for cash and DK? You don't have to stack anything for cash games, but probably I would say Kansas City and Tampa Bay is the safest way to stack for cash, just because the highest over under. So I guess it would be Kansas City, Tampa Bay if you want to stack for cash games, but you don't have to stack. Like stacking is not needed in cash games. You just want to get the guys with the high floor. Tyreek Hill, Diggs, or Ridley for cash, and that's a really tough one. I like all three a lot, obviously. I'm going to go Ridley, actually, there for the discount, for the slight discount. But, Hill probably possesses the most upside. Again, that's a tough call. Like, I'll take the discount of Ridley, but, yeah. Am I crazy for Fitz and Devontae Parker and cash? Probably for cash, yeah. Like, Fitz does have upside, but I don't think we have to do it for cash. I think you spend up a quarterback. For GBPs, of course, yeah, you can do Fitz and Devontae. Like, that's a contrarian stack. Not a lot of people are going to do it. It's a decent matchup. It's fine if I have two lineups with GBP and I'm fading Cook in both. Yeah, it's fine. It's a little bit risky. Like, I'm personally fading Cook in GBPs, but if I was playing cash games, I would play Devin Cook. Give him some thumbs up, everyone. I appreciate that, man. Everyone like the button. Let's see, it's Man's Go. I appreciate that. Taysom Hill or Carr? I'll go Carr there just because that Saints game should be pretty ugly. Cook easy fade. You don't have to play him in GPPs. You don't. Again, I'm fading him in GPPs. He's going to be probably one of the most popular plays of the slate. Carr, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, doesn't get the respect. He's been pretty good this year. He has. It's a good matchup. Rojo, like 1%. I don't trust Tampa Bay running backs. He does possess some upside, but yeah. Rojo, easy play, keep Mahomes out the field. Who is the player you are the most scared to fade? Mine is Jefferson. Mine is Dalvin Cook. Yeah, just because Cook has enormous upside. Season long, and he's going to be popular too. Season long, pick 2, AB, Cole, Beasley, Gallman, Mike Williams. AB for sure, and then it's either Gallman or Beasley for me. I'll go Beasley. Definitely don't fade Ridley. Big target day. I like him. And again, you can make the argument that, with who they're not playing, maybe it hurts him a bit, but love the matchup, and he's going to be the clear guy today. Seems like everyone is playing Mahomes, might pivot to Herbert, Allen. That's perfectly fine, right? Mahomes is going to be popular. I'm playing Kyler because I think everyone goes to Mahomes. If I was playing cash games, it probably would be Mahomes, but again, I like the top quarterbacks today for sure. Josh Allen, Diggs, and running it back with Eckler for GPPs. Yeah, I like that a lot. Curtis Beasley or Crowder for cash. Samuel Beasley or Crowder. I will go Samuel just because the target share and the fact that no Christian McCaffrey, he should get a couple rushes today. Yeah, Samuel for me. Carolina better against the run of late. That's true, but Dalvin Cook is just a workhorse, and he's kind of like the matchup doesn't really matter a ton for him. He'll get involved in the passing game too. Cook needs like 37 points to kill you at that price. I'm not worried. I mean, yeah, but he's going to be really popular, so that's why I'm the most scared to fade him. But I'm fading him. Cook literally needs 40 to put you in top 5% of GPP. I was hoping no one would go Herbert LOL. I have a ton of him. I think Herbert's a decent play. I do. I do prefer Allen, Mahomes, and Kyler for a bit more because of their rushing ability. But I like Herbert. He's been passing the ball more. You can pair him with either Keenan Allen or Eckler if you want to. Herbert plus Keenan plus Diggs will win me money today. I like that stack a lot. I do. Izzo, Robinson, and Ridley, or Jefferson, Cole, and Waller. Oh, Izzo, I wouldn't do Izzo. So I would do, Jefferson, Cole, and Waller there. Chenault, Giants D, or Cole, Colts D. Chenault and the Giants D, or Cole and the Colts D. I'll go Chenault and the Giants D. Good luck today. Yeah, good luck to you guys too. We still have a good amount of time, 7 minutes until lock, so it's going to be a last minute decision. I think I'm going to stick with what I have and go no Eckler, but man, I do like his upside a lot in GPPs today. The way that I'm going, guys, I'm going Kyler, pairing him with DeAndre Hopkins and running it back with James White. That's the way that I'm getting different, right? There's a lot of cheap value plays. White's definitely not someone we can look to in cash games, but no Burkhead. What I'm hoping for is Cardinals kind of get off to an early lead and the Patriots had to pass, which should make James White have to play a good amount. But yeah, love this stack. Ryan Cook. Let's see. Should have stuck with my gut last week with Herbert over Lamar. That was so frustrating, man. With Lamar Jackson. I felt so good about that too. With everyone playing Taysom Hill, I was like, oh man, Lamar, this is a great matchup. But yeah, he's been a bust this year for sure. Thoughts on Shepard today? I mean, he's a contrarian play. He's just that weird price range, right? That 5.5 to like 4K price range, a wide receiver. Yeah, I'm not overly excited about it. Go with your gut, DK. Don't change. That's what I'm doing. Like, I had Eckler, but I originally my first build I didn't have him, but then it's a tricky one. I'm gonna stick with what I got though. Doing the same DK as always. Let's see. Damian Harris or Aguilar flex. I don't really like either. Let's see. Harris is 5'8". He just has no involvement in the pass game versus Aguilar. I think I'll just rather go Aguilar, to be honest. Just because the matchup. He still had 9 targets last game, so yeah, give me Aguilar there. I've got Mahomes, Hill, and running back with AB. Should I prioritize Hill or Kelsey? I'm playing Waller as of now. If you're going for the higher upside, it is probably Hill, but I think Kelsey is a little bit safer. Brian Hill, I do like Brian Hill a decent amount for value, right? It's probably him, It's Hines is like the top cheap plays, but there's still other guys you can look to. Eckler or Rojo, I would rather play Eckler. Got the 2 cheap running backs and stud wide receivers. I like that approach. That's kind of where I'm going as well. Aguilar missed 2 big catches last week. Yeah, he has. That's the downside of Eckler is he will drop some passes for sure. Gabe Davis or Andy Isabella. Those are 2 of my favorite mid-price wide receivers. I think I would give the edge to Gabe Davis because in the games that Brown has missed, he's basically played the entire game. Whereas Andy Isabella, you got, they said they might like line up Chase Edmonds a bit in the slot or one of the tight ends. So I think I would lean Gabe Davis. Beware Dirk Carter, all I'm saying. We have, below 5 minutes to lock, guys, so make sure to get in any last questions. Can we get to 50 likes, guys? We're at 43. Again, if you enjoy the content, it does help me out a ton. Let's see. I've been searching Twitter, seeing if we got any last-minute news on Austin Eckler. But from what I've seen, they want to limit him, but will they? Right? We've seen the coach talk before. Can't fit in Ridley, even though I really want to. You don't have to play him. You don't. There's a ton of good spend-up wide receivers. Again, it's definitely Stars and Scrubsville. Browns defense or Giants defense? Now, that's a tricky one. Like, those are the 2 in the mid-range I like with both going up against backup quarterbacks. Browns defense, but that's really close. Do you think Eckler will have his workload? Yeah, that's the risk with Eckler, right? And that's why I wouldn't go there in cash games. It's just because we don't know what the workload is going to be. But no Balaj, right? So Cook or Jefferson for cash, definitely Cook. Taking a huge leap of faith with Zach Moss, man. If you feel super strong, go for it. Like, go with your gut. Like, I always say that. Zach Moss, he's at 4.8. He's been getting more touches than Singletary. If you feel super strong about it, then go for it. I'm not going to talk you off him. Appreciate all the streams and vids, DK. Good luck today. Hey, good luck to you as well. Herbert has been balling. He has, for sure. White or Hines? It's Hines for cash, but I do kind of like White as a contrarian play today. No Burkhead. White should be the guy that does play in all the passing down situations. Oh, also, did you guys see the news that the Broncos wanted to start their offensive quality coach at quarterback instead of the practice squad wide receiver? That would have been something else. Just a crazy week for sure. I feel good about it. It's just the matchup and the fact that no involvement in the passing game. That's why I'm not overly excited about Derrick Henry. Thanks, DK. Of course, guys. Yeah, we're coming in on lock right now. Good luck. Yeah, good luck to all you guys. I hope you guys have a great Sunday. I will have a video obviously up for the Monday Night Showdown slate. That'll be up later today. IDK, how I feel about playing Watkins and Tyreek together. Not a lot of people are going to do it. Like, Tyreek's going to be popular, but Watkins will go overlooked. Will he get the full workload in his first game back? I don't know. Do you think NFL going to have to take a break soon if COVID keep happening like this? I don't think so. I think they're going to keep pushing on. That's my opinion. So who is Denver backup quarterback now that they have the 5th string? I don't know. I think it's their backup should be Royce Freeman. Like, he is their emergency quarterback. And there was rumors that he was going to play QB first, but then they went with the practice squad wide receiver quarterback. So I think the backup's going to be Royce Freeman. I played 100% Anderson, Wilkins, and Ruggs. LO, wish me luck. It's risky, for sure. Do you not play cash at all? Not recently. Yeah, there's just, with cash games, I don't know, I kind of go back and forth on it. Like, it's not like in 2020, with cash, a lot of people have the same lineups or it's close. So it's like, to cash, it's kind of like a 2v2, right? So it's like, I don't know if it's worth it to play cash. Or back in the day, in like early 2010, like 2012, 2013, like there was a ton of dead money in there. So cash was definitely a lot better to play back in the day. Good luck, fellas. Thanks to you, of course. I mean, if Kendall doesn't turn the ball over, it might not be that bad. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to see how that game goes. Like, what, 36 over under, should be ugly. But all right, guys, I think I'm going to head out of here because ownership, at least for the main slate, it always takes a long time to load in. But I told you guys where I went, right? I went with Kyler, paired with Hopkins, ran it back with White, and then kind of did a secondary stack with Calvin Ridley and Darren Waller. So I took some risk. We'll see how it goes. I've cashed 80% of lineups this year. That's great, man. That's really good. Who you got, Colts or Titans? I'm a huge Colts fan. I think I like the Colts. But all right, guys, I'm going to head out here. We hit, I think, 250 concurrent viewers, so I really do appreciate you guys coming to check the live streams every single week. Again, Monday, Showdown video, Monday Night Football. That'll be up later today, so be on the lookout. Thanks again. Have a great day, guys. Enjoy some football, and I will see you all later.